This is Beach Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Mean Gene. Mean Gene. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Hello, America, and welcome to the #1 radio station in all of Fort Myers Beach. Beach Talk Radio. Here are your hosts, Kim and Ed Ryan.
And a good Tuesday evening, everybody. Welcome to episode number 37 of Mondays with the Mayor on a Tuesday night. Because of the budget meeting number 2 last night, the budget was passed for 2023-2024, and that goes into effect October the 1st. So that's why we're here on a Tuesday. And before we get rolling along, tonight's show is sponsored in part by Dorston Claims. If your house is gone and your insurance company has denied your claim, you need to call Mark Dorston at Dorston Claims, because he's going to help you get the money that you need to put your house and your life back together. There are cases where both policies must pay the limit. The only way you'll know that is to ask somebody like Mark Dorston at Dorston Claims. You don't pay Mark until he gets you more money. 239-849-2949. That's 239-849-2949. Let's welcome to the stage the mayor of Fort Myers Beach. Fresh off a workout is Mayor Dan Allers. Thanks for coming on tonight, Dan. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. It's a crazy week this week here as we get ready for Thursday, and it's hard to believe we're coming up on 1 year already.
Yeah, it certainly is. It feels like it was just yesterday, but Thursday will be 1 year, and yesterday, looking back a year ago, we were on our way. We were just on our way back from Colorado from a wedding, so it's hard to believe it's been a year.
Yeah, and I know there are a lot of things going on the beach, and including you'll be on with Drew Steele from 92.5 at 7 o'clock on Thursday. He's doing his show live from the Pink Shell, and Jackie from the Chamber is going to be on, and Bill Wachulis from Pink Shell is also going to be there. So it's nice to see some of those folks coming down and highlighting the beach a little.
Yeah, it moved around a couple times, but we were able to get it worked out. Like you said, I think it's 7 o'clock. I'll be down there with Drew and his team doing an interview, and then we've got another one with someone else at 8 o'clock at Bayside Park. So a lot of interviews that day.
Right, and our big event starts at 9 o'clock, and I was just talking to your team down there about the organization of it. It's going to be at Bayside Park at 9 o'clock. And it'll start off with a prayer from the vice mayor and the national anthem from the kids from the beach school, which is going to be great. And
you're not playing the trombone, are you?
No, I did get it today in the mail. It did come today in the mail, so I don't have time to rip one out.
Poor
Cookie. What about me?
It's not like I get up early or anything. And then Joe Salvaggio, I hope I said that right, will be holding the flag. He's a Fort Myers Beach veteran. And then the lineup of speakers that you've put together is just off the charts. It's got to be the best in Southwest Florida.
Yeah, there's quite a few. Pretty much everyone that we spoke with throughout the last year that's helped us rebuild, helped us either give us money or point us in the right direction, or has come down to help us from the governor's office all the way down. So all the way to the superintendent. So anyone that's had an involvement pretty much in getting us some funding and helping us rebuild over the last year and keeping the community, what we expect it to be, will be there to say a few words. Hopefully just be a minute or two, just for everybody to kind of say a few words and remember, obviously, I think you left out the plaque presentation will follow or start before we start hearing from some of the people that will be there, but we're looking forward to it.
Yep, it's more than a plaque. It's like a picture, right? I know you might get offended by Adderholt called it a plaque today too. So I was like, Kim, don't call it a plaque in front of Kim. You're gonna make her cry.
Well, I have not.
I haven't seen it either.
I have not witnessed the picture. I think Megan, you showed Megan a picture of it briefly, but
yes, yeah.
And you
It's-
both almost teared up, so that
yeah,
should
no,
be
she was
interesting.
tearing up. I've looked at
Yeah.
it's
Don't
I'm not
give
good.
it away. Don't give it away.
No, I'm not good with size. It's much bigger
Then black. Yeah.
black. So hopefully, you can fit it in now, and it'll go great though in the new building when you have a huge new building, or wherever you all want to put it, but it's sizable. So I wanted to ask at the budget meeting, this is a little bit tongue in cheek, but is there any way that they can appropriate some more monies for the mayor and the vice mayor and the council people? Because I just want to go on record of saying that I don't know how, with the amount of stuff that you guys have to do, even before the storm, but since the storm in the last year, I don't know how you're doing any kind of job to earn your keep there with Megan, but it's just amazing all the work that everybody has put into. And for the, I don't know, what is it, 16,000? It just is crazy.
Well, we're not the only ones. There's a lot of people put in a lot of work to make things go around, staff and they do the heavy lifting. We just are policymakers and we do put in a lot of time. I know my fellow council members are around. I see them there all the time. So everybody's doing their part to offer input and offer suggestions and solutions. So, we know what we signed up for and we're doing what we can.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say that I love it when people get up at public comment and start it off by saying how much they appreciate everything regardless of what they say may say after that. But it is, I think it's important for people to remember that you might not agree, but that these folks are really putting in just so much time and effort. And
Yeah, for the most part, people are pretty cordial. They understand it's difficult. It's not as I think I commented on one of your posts or something either today or yesterday. I remember exactly what it was. It's, by nature, I'm one that likes to try to please everybody. And this job will teach you very quickly that is an impossibility to try to please everybody. But, Anita said to me a long time ago that if you make the decisions from your heart, you'll never make a wrong decision. And I've taken that, they've taken that advice to heart and that's you make a decision that you feel is in the best interest and you move forward, and some people will be happy and some people won't. But for the most part, I would say that a greater majority of people are thankful that people are willing to put the time and effort in to try to make it a better place for all of us. And even if they don't agree with all your decisions, I had a lady come up, I wish I could remember her name. She came up between the meetings and said, I agree with about 60 to 70% of the things that you vote on. She goes, but I'm okay with that. As long as it's over 50, I'm okay with that. So I took that as a backhanded compliment, but
yeah,
not so backhanded. So the just to round out the Thursday thing, after the ceremony, if it ends at 10, 30 minutes later, the clock will be unveiled in Times Square. The staff was out there today putting in palm trees. And, the wall is done. So, the Times Square area, despite the fact that most of the businesses are gone, is getting a nice facelift. And it's looking very bright and right in time for the events on Thursday. And then the Revive the Vibe event is like 11 o'clock until 10 o'clock at night. There's going to be bands at 3 different stages. So if you're not doing anything on Thursday, please come down to Fort Myers Beach and spend some of your money and I know Karen said yesterday at the meeting, and it's not really a celebration. It's an anniversary. It's an anniversary that we wish we didn't have to participate in, but it is here, and you can't ignore it. And there's a lot going on.
Yeah, there. And it's it was difficult, as you and I have talked, and other people have talked about. You don't want to call it an anniversary. You really, what word really works for something like this, and it's remembrance is kind of is the word that I think everybody kind of agreed upon that makes the most sense. We certainly want to recognize the people that we lost that day and have a moment of silence for them but from there it has to move forward. We will continue to remember them every year as we go on, but we have to move on from that to where we're going and what we've accomplished over the last year and what we're hoping to accomplish over the next year and the year after that. So it's going to be kind of a full gamut of emotions, I think, that day for that hour. But we're looking forward to it. We're looking forward at it's been a long road the last couple of weeks getting to it, a lot going on, as you guys well know. And I'm looking forward to having the event and then moving on Friday.
Yeah. One of the things we decided that we weren't going to do is go back and pull pictures out and start posting pictures from a year ago of all the shit that we've seen for months and months. We don't need to bring it up again in the next few days because, there'll be other people that do that, and we don't need to do that. We started to show the Bayside Park and the live music and the wavy wall, and we're just going to stick to that and move on from there. So, all right, we've got some questions that we want to get to. Everybody knows Chris down from Times Square. Any chance some clarity to what can be built in Times Square and be provided while the property owners are ready to sell and new investors are contemplating buying?
Well, I mean, there's a comp plan in the land development code that allows you to build right now. May not be exactly what you want to build, but there's direction there now. There's nothing holding anyone back from building something on their property now. I guess I'm trying to understand what direction it is they're looking for. Are they looking for more height? Are they looking for, that's a difficult question to ask because there's a path for someone to build now, should they choose to. The ones that are on the side of the Gulf, they have obviously some issues. Some of the buildings, as we talked about before, have some issues with the coastal construction line that you're obviously not going to be able to build back. But I don't know that there's anything hindering or holding anyone up from building something back on the property that they own in Times Square.
And they just need to build. They just need to
go
up that amount.
Yep. You certainly have to go up. And, I think the biggest issue is some of those properties are very small and trying to build something is going to be very difficult. And we certainly understand that. But I guess I need them to tell me exactly what it is they want us to do that's going to help them from what they can do now.
And Dan, part of the challenge, I know we've talked about this many times. Part of the challenge in Times Square is in addition to the rules of you have to build higher, you have to build stronger, which means you have to put more money into what you had before. You have different business owners that are trying to sell, another business owner that's locked in a fight with the town over the property and the rules. It really isn't just, are you going to build one restaurant there and then what happens to the rest of the spots there? Do you connect them somehow? Do they all need to have an elevator? Is there going to be a walkway? So it's quite a bit more complicated than one business owner just putting something up and following the rules, because there are so many elements of that piece.
Well, there's a lot of personalities involved.
Yeah.
You've got the town that owns property there, you got the county that owns property there, and several business owners that have property there, and getting everyone on the same page is going to be difficult, to say the least, because everyone that owns their own property, that's worked very hard for that property and has maintained it and had a successful business there for years and years and years, may not agree with the one next door that has a different concept of what they want. So how are we going to get all those people together? That's still something that we're wrestling with. But I really don't want it to be that the town is holding them up from building. You own that piece of property. The land development code allows you to do stuff on that property currently. There's nothing holding you back from building on your piece of property. It may not be exactly what you want. It may be smaller than what you need, but there's nothing that is holding you back. Now, if full transparency, if we're going to talk about they need more to make it financially viable, then let's sit down and have those conversations. And I think these are all going to be conversations we have with the joint meeting that we have with the LPA coming up on the 10th.
I don't want to cut you off.
But just to reiterate that if somebody owns a piece of property, they can sell it and or they can build on it. But if they sell it, then the new person just has to know what the codes are for that area and build it in addition to those codes and ADA compliance, and they can jump out there and do it. I mean, it
just follow
might
the
be
rules.
one structure.
There's nobody stopping them. There's nobody stopping them. You can build. If you can build what you can build by right, and there's the town can't stop you, the county can't stop you. You can build under the current rules that are there, by right what you can build. And if that works for you, then there's nothing holding you back from starting.
Sometimes when we talk about this in the residential realm and the by right thing comes up, people could by right can build much bigger than what they had before. Is that not the same in the commercial area? Were they pretty far already built out, or?
Sorry, you cut out there at the beginning.
Oh.
On my end, you cut out.
So when we talk about this and it's a residential building and you guys talk about build by right, they'll say, well, some properties were really small. So by right, they can build a much bigger home. Is that the case in Times Square, or were they already kind of built to the ends of where they could go?
Yeah, residential and commercial are two different things. And again, I want to preface this by saying I'm not a planner. I'm not I know what I know enough to know, but I don't know all the intricacies and details of everything that's possible to do in the downtown district. But I do know that there's nothing keeping anyone from building something on their property in Times Square. You just have to build it to the height that's required now.
I think you have to start like 14, 15, 16 feet up, right? It's pretty high.
It depends on where you are. The maps are kind of all over the place. I've heard 19, 20 feet roughly is the numbers I'm hearing for the Times Square area that you have to build up above, above sea level. Yeah. So it's going to be pretty
a little bit above sea. I mean, they're already a little bit above sea level.
I don't know. Yeah. And again, it's different. It's not, the maps just changed in November. So there's a little bit different. What could be in one part of the downtown district is different than another part of the downtown district.
All right. So let's get back to the questions from the audience. I would like to know why the town requires a survey to replace a damaged fence that's still in place. The new one will go exactly where the old one is.
I don't understand what it mean by a survey, but we've gone over the fence thing. If you have to replace the fence, you have to go through the process. And that's what we were talking about that yesterday. You know, a fence should be an accessory structure that shouldn't have to, in my opinion, fall into the same category as someone that's building a new house, whether it be fees, whatever it is, it should be a different category. But I don't know the details of that. I think I know who that person is, and I think I live very close to that person. So I'm guessing that I know the fence that they're talking about, but I don't know this is the first I've heard of us needing a survey for a fence.
Yeah.
What type of survey? I don't know.
Send in your permit number and somebody will look it up for you to see.
Well, if this person is who I think it is, I know the address. I can look it up pretty quickly.
So, and the other thing you were talking about, you were touching on, it's like, why does somebody have to, I may be getting this wrong, but why would somebody have to pay $1,800 for a permit for a fence that would also have to pay $1,800 if they were building a new house? And so I know you guys are trying to work out those fees. It does seem kind of off balance there, but then the permitting department tried to explain why the fees were the fees, and I kind of understood it a little bit more, but it did seem like it was quite a bit of money for a fence, replacing a fence that was already there before the storm in the same spot.
Yeah, I know sometimes we get hung up on, I'm just putting it back exactly where it was before. Well, you could use that argument then for Pete's Timeout or Margaritas or anything in Times Square, Sunset Grill. Why can't I just put back what I had before? There's rules and regulations you have to follow, but the fees for me, are way out of line on some of that.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Someone has to pay, $2,500 to put a fence back because of the variances that they need for something that was already there. I think there's ways that we can fix this. We can fix that issue. And the point I tried to make yesterday was someone putting a fence back that's building their house back under the 50% rule and just putting it back. And we can show very clearly that it was there in the same exact spot. Now, the issue that we have, and the reason you have to follow those, is we have had people that have said, we're putting the fence back in the same spot. You give them the permit, and then you go out there, and now the fence is 3 feet to the left, or it's 5 feet to the right, and it's not exactly in the spot that they said it was going to be, and they've taken liberty. So, there's things like that do happen. It's a one-off. It could be mistakes. It could be whatever the reason is, but there's a reason, the process in place to do it. But to charge someone $1,800 to put up a fence because you have to come through a variance, to me seems, that could be the cost of the fence in some cases.
Yeah. So I think it was, no, I forgot what I was going to ask, but the debris next to Diamond Head, I know there's been a lot discussed about that. I talked to the folks that are there. They're really trying to get rid of it. Apparently, it sounds like their first contractor really failed them, and they're trying to make it right as quickly as they can. It's not like they want to keep those piles there. They want to actually rebuild those buildings as soon as they can, and they seem like they're caught in a dilemma that they're trying to fix.
Yeah, they got duped. Their contractor duped them. They told them things that were not true. And by the time they found out about it, the contract was signed and the buildings were coming down, and it was too late. So they understand the issue that they have now. They did talk to me yesterday in one of the breaks. They came up and talked to me and let me know that they have legally, as of yesterday, they were able to move forward with getting another contractor to come in and remove that debris. So hopefully we'll start to see something coming out of there very quickly. He said he had 2 quotes from 2 different contractors. So my guess is they'll pick one and get that moved forward, because they understand, and I made it very clear to them again that there are a lot of people with a lot of eyes on it, not just people from our community, people from all over, and the higher ups are noticing this. So it doesn't do anybody good to drive by and still see mattresses sitting on top of a pile of concrete.
Yeah,
but they are working on it, and they have been in communication with us. So they're going about it. We can't change the past. We can't change the fact that their contractor lied to them. All we can do now is fix the wrong and continue to keep going.
Yeah, and it's no ordinary house. I mean, that was 3 gigantic buildings that they knocked down, and it seemed like
looks like Jim just made a comment on there. New contract signing to begin work next Monday.
Thank you, Jim.
So there you go.
Good news. Okay, so I remember what I was going to say. If anybody wants to type a question in, type it in the chat box there. Or pass
Debbie's got a fence in there. The question about the fence. The permit is not The permit, Debbie, is not $1,800. It's the one right above it. The fence is not $1,800. It was to go through that was the cost to do a variant, to go through the variant process. So variants. So, and then everyone after that is an additional. So if you have 4 variances that you have to go through for your fence, that's, what is that, $3,300, $500 per variance after the first one. So as if you need if it's going all the way around your house and you need one for the front, rear, and both sides, that adds up very quickly. And that's what I was trying to point out yesterday, that I don't think that is very fair at all. Whereas a person building a $5 million house that has to have the same variances because they want to design their house, a new house, wider on all 4 sides, they pay the same amount of money as a person that pays for the fence. And that's the discrepancy. And I think that the staff understood that, and I think they'll get it worked out and bring it back. And hopefully we can get that, at least one part of that, corrected.
Can I ask a question?
It's your show.
Okay.
It's your show.
You were talking about the debris at the Estero Island Beach Club. I think that's what it is. Mm-hmm. The letters that went out that you've been sending out to everybody, not everybody, but everybody who has property that is in disrepair or whatever. What responses? Have you gotten a lot of responses back?
I don't know that we've gotten a lot of responses back. Both Andy and Frankie were out and they were looking, and now we've got some of our people, code people, neighborhood services, I guess they're called now, out looking at some of these properties. They're taking pictures so that they can look it up to send the information to them. Some have replied back, or some we have found have since the letter got out, have applied for demo permits. So you're seeing some progress. There are some that we're not hearing back from at all. So we're weeding out some of the ones that we know we're trying to do the right thing and trying to move forward as fast as they can. And then we're also seeing some that are choosing to do nothing or respond. And those are the ones that will get escalated on to the next part that we can do.
Do you have any idea how many total letters have gone out?
Not total, but I think we have at least 20 out. I've got my notes here, at least like 20 out. And of those, we found that 8 have got demo permits. So there's another round going out. I just haven't got I didn't get the new addresses today.
How do you send them out?
Like, and that's just commercial. That was just commercial stuff. The 20 I'm talking about are just commercial ones on Estero Boulevard.
So when you're sending them out to a residence, I mean, if the how do you know that they're getting to the people?
Well, especially if there's just debris there.
Well, we can, there's no, I guess, physical way to know for sure that they're actually getting them. We're sending them to the addresses that we have on file. And I asked the question, so well, are we sending these certified? And our
Right.
town attorney actually had a very good point that I guess I never thought about. She said, you can send them certified, but what she has found in the past, when you send stuff certified, people will ignore it. And they just won't accept the certified mail. So there's no record. So by showing that we're sending them out, doesn't mean that we're not going to send them out that certified, but you send it out the way you could send it out through the normal mail, and then you take it to the next level. And there's so many steps involved that you have to go through to be able to get to the point to step in and even pull a bus off a property.
So let's move on to the big story of the week, Dan. And the one story that everybody's been waiting for us to ask about is the chickens and the roosters on Fort Myers Beach.
Yes.
I never expected the chicken thing to blow up the way it did, but it did. And maybe that's the uniqueness of Fort Myers Beach, or maybe that's the craziness of some of the people that live out there, or a combination of both.
I've had some people, and yourself included, ask if there's anything in the code regarding chickens or roosters. So I went to Muni Code and looked it up, and the only thing I can find, it says it is unlawful for any person to dye or artificially color any animal or fowl, including but not limited to rabbits, baby chickens, and ducklings, or to bring any dyed or colored animal or fowl into this county. And it also says it is unlawful for any person to sell, offer for sale, or give away as merchandising premiums baby chickens, ducklings, or other fowl under 4 weeks of age, or rabbits under 2 months of age, to be used as pets, toys, or retail premiums. So those are the only two things that I can find in the code.
Why
So,
would that be in any government?
well,
code? I mean,
that leads me to
dying pets?
believe. That leads me to
We
believe
had someone years ago. Remember there was a whole big thing out here in
Oh yeah,
Gayfair where
it was Lehigh.
died her dog. Like,
Yeah, she
and it
was also selling drugs on the side.
was-
More
it
than
was-
just that.
I mean, the whole thing was crazy. It's interesting that you can't sell. Never mind.
Dan, how did the chickens?
I'm trying to figure out how do you test how old they are? I mean, how do you know if it's 3
Yeah.
weeks old or 2?
I
don't
guess you ask it.
Now, I'm sure
Okay.
you investigated this in your spare time, but how did those chickens? I mean, they weren't there until just a few. Nobody heard of them until like a few weeks ago. Did somebody carry them on the island?
I got to tell you a very funny story. So I get a text message from Andy one night, and he's like, "What the heck?" And I don't remember exactly how it was, but he was dumbfounded that there's chickens running around where he lives. And he sends me a picture of all these chickens, and of course I'm laughing. And this goes back and forth for hours, but the memes and all the things going back and forth that you can imagine. But we're going back and forth over this, and and the next morning I'm still laughing, and I go in and we're sitting there talking, and the look on his face, he's like, "Those things are so loud."
Oh wow! So somebody dropped him right on his road.
I don't know that they know that he lived there, but
Yeah.
I think he said he had 9 of them or something there, and then he
Wow.
was down to, I don't know if he still has them all. I forgot.
See,
to
now,
ask
if you
him
had
about
those, if there was cameras up, you'd have footage of
They
who
do have
dropped
cameras
the
up.
birds.
But the
Who
birds have to have
the
license
chickens?
plates on them.
that. So of course, once he told me that, and he's like, "You put them there, didn't you?" I said, "I had nothing to do with the chickens there." I said, "But I may or may not, and it is not. I cannot confirm or deny that there may have been some frozen corn dropped off in front of your house."
Oh.
So,
That whole thing was crazy.
he got a good kick out of it, but I can't believe people lose their tempers over chickens.
I
But
know that was the worst
You know.
part of it. I mean, it was all fun and games until a fight breaks out over the chickens and somebody gets hurt. So let's move on to what?
You
What?
want to ask that?
No,
question?
because Dan is not going to be communicating with Byron. Byron is not going to be here on Thursday, and I believe that his interview most likely on Fox News will be on the phone. So I mean, he might talk to him some other time. Richard.
yeah, I won't talk to him. I think he's on another mission somewhere else that day, so he can't be there. But Jesse Purdon will be there from Benita's counsel. So I can certainly, I saw the question. I can certainly ask him if we're getting any headway on getting that designation.
So let's move on to the other life form on the beach, the turtles and the lighting. And you said you might have an update for us on that.
I do. We got confirmation from Dr. Trindell that they have approved the BLX6 fixtures to be used after the test. And then I just got an email so obviously that was a major hurdle that we had. They obviously want the dimming capability and the shielding, which we've been proponents of the entire time. And let me pull it up. I just got an email just before we came on asking for an update from FPL. And I'll read you exactly what they wrote me. We should get the final proposal from them tomorrow. It says, we are prepared to offer the town the entire project covering Estero Boulevard, side streets, and Old San Carlos, including 10-year material warranties and 10 years of ongoing warranty maintenance for a not to exceed budget of $7.9 million. The project includes the boring and installation of over 24 miles of underground conduit and conductor, which will enhance the town's lighting system for future needs.
Wow.
Along Estero Boulevard, we estimate installing approximately 728 new fixtures and poles. For the side streets along Estero Boulevard corridor, we estimate 258 new fixtures and poles, and we propose converting 28 existing fixtures along Old San Carlos Boulevard. This solution will include access to the lighting dashboard, which will give the town the ability to monitor, set schedules, and dim all fixtures. So that is the latest update. Now, it's the funding request that we have into the state, which we had a call today. It sounds like we should hopefully be hearing some good news fairly soon on that. So it looks like this very long process of getting some safe lighting on Estero Boulevard will hopefully be coming to an end soon.
Now, Dan, what is the difference in this BLX6 fixture compared to what's up there now?
Oh, huge difference. The amount of lumen output, so the brightness essentially of the bulb, of the fixture. I don't want to say bulb, of the fixture. So I don't know what the Cree fixtures that are up there now, off the top of my head, I can't remember what their lumen output was. But the difference between the 6 and the 8 that they were talking about was quite significant. The 8s obviously are much brighter than the 6s. So the 6s were what were tested with the county was here, FPL was here. Obviously the town, we were down there, and they were able to test it in two spots that day at the 20, I think it was 22.5 foot height. They were able to test it from the beach. They were able to test it all over. Dr. Trindell and her team did a great job of being very thorough and measuring the light source, and came back with their determination very quickly, which we appreciate. And FPL was waiting to get that in order to get us the information that we need. So it's been a long, drawn out process. I can tell you there's been some very heated phone calls, probably mostly from my part in the background. But it appears that we're heading down the path, and to use the words from Chris Holly, it looks like we're going to bring this in for a landing, hopefully. Okay.
So how long will that, so they're going to have to put the conduit under the road now, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Again, I just got that. We haven't got they said we should have the final proposal from them tomorrow. They're saying by noon tomorrow we should have the final proposal. So as soon as we get that, we'll have a little better understanding of what exactly they're referring to. But I just wanted to make sure that you heard exactly what was sent to me. Saved you a public information request.
Yes. Okay. So the $7.9 million was a request that you guys made to the state to cover the entire cost of these lights, which would light up basically all the streets in Estero Boulevard with this turtle-friendly amber light. Will they have shields on them
Yes.
like they do now during turtle season? And will the shields be able to be moved back during non-turtle season, or it's going to be the same 12 months out of the year?
Yeah, so it'll be the same fixture. They won't change colors. It's going to be, we will have the dimming capability on them. So we can dim them down if we need to during turtle season, but outside of turtle season, we can make them brighter. People keep referring to them as turtle lights, which is true. They're turtle friendly lights, but they also, because it's amber, they still have to be shielded. They still have to be, the shields still have to go up. But for us, the biggest concern for us was uniformity. We had to make sure that Estero Boulevard was uniformly lit to that 1 foot candle, which is required by FDOT, but also meet the requirements that are needed for the environment. And I think that this, after having the on-site meeting, the on-site testing, I can tell you that they did the testing of the fixture inside a metal building, and nobody was really pleased with how they operated. But you're inside so they wanted to do a real world comparison, or real world scenario, and that's what they did. They took their data back. They gave us the approval that they are going to, assuming that we're going to go with the dimming. They asked for a detailed plan, which FPL will provide them. So, for us, it was important that we got that good balance between protecting the environment, but also making sure that our citizens were safe, because anybody that goes down that road now at night knows it's not safe.
And is that light, the new light, basically the same reddish kind of color that we see now?
But it'll be much brighter.
Okay.
So when it's hard. I took a couple pictures. They had the light next to one of the Cree fixtures that is currently installed now, and it is just one light for one light. It's a night and day difference, literally night and day difference. It's still the amber color, which amber is amber, but it is so much more bright than the Cree fixtures that are there, and the spread is so much more. So the overlap, they wanted to see what the overlap was to make sure that you weren't maybe 1 foot candle here, but your 10 foot candles over here. So that's the uniformity that I talk about, so that when you're walking or you're biking or you're doing something, that it's the same candle all the way around. Some will be a little bit brighter, but 1 foot candle is the minimum required for FDOT. So that was a key factor. So these are, when we say turtle lights, yes, they are turtle friendly lights, but uniformity was the number one goal. And what we've been trying to push from the beginning is that we can put this whole thing to bed. Let's make it a uniform across the board for the streets, on the side streets and down Old San Carlos Boulevard. Let's make it a safe, unified system. And so far, everybody has at least kept the conversation going. And as of today, it looks like we're getting closer than we've ever been. So one last hurdle.
FWC, is FWC on board too?
Yeah, they had to approve the fixture. They had to approve that BLX fixture. And that's it was a week or maybe 2 weeks ago. It wasn't long after they were in town to test the fixture that they were okay with moving forward with the specific layout that the design that they were going to need from FPL, as well as the dimming capability, which will be included in that.
That's big news.
And for the amount that we talked about from the very beginning, that we were given from FPL from the beginning, that they could do the 10-year maintenance agreement, that they could install, they could do this entire project for that money. And that was key, because the town doesn't have extra money to put towards this project. So we asked for the funding. Tallahassee was receptive to it. They saw the potential, they saw the opportunity, and this gives the town of Fort Myers Beach the opportunity to be first in doing something that meshes two goals and provides, hopefully on paper, it should provide exactly what everybody's looking for. And if coastal communities across the state can use this as a blueprint going forward, technology is going to change, lights are going to change, and we all know there's better technology out there now than what we're using, but it's a hell of a lot better than what we have currently. So, but this will propel us forward. It'll allow us to not have to worry about this, hopefully, going forward ever again.
And Dan, who owns the lights? Does the FPL own the system, or does the town take over the system?
That's the one question we need clarified, because that it doesn't say that in what I read you. It doesn't say that this is if memory serves me correct, that this would be a town-owned system, because this will be coming from the unregulated side of FPL, meaning it's outside that tariff. It's so they can do a few more things that they are not required to do on the regulated side. So my understanding from our initial conversations months and months ago was that it was going to be a town-owned system. Our energy costs will actually be lower than what we're paying now. Again, if I don't have my notes right in front of me, but if memory serves me correct, that would be our energy costs would be actually lower than what we're paying now. because the town does pay for the energy costs. But it would be a town-owned system, but they would provide in that 7.9 million a 10-year maintenance agreement. So something in 10 years from now, the town then can send it out for bid and hire somebody else to do the maintenance, or who knows what 10 years from now could bring. But for the next 10 years, we will have a fixed cost. We know that this is what it's going to cost for the energy every year. Obviously, energy costs could go up, but at least we have a better understanding of what we're going to be paying.
All right. Somebody was asking about traffic lights. The traffic lights.
Which ones specifically?
Got one by Times Square that's still out, and
so yeah, that's a power issue. If you next time you're in, that's why the old San Carlos. So if our electricians were out there this weekend, and they were working in finding out how the street lights. I'm going to go down there to check it out tonight, because I heard that our electricians were out there all weekend working on it, and they got some of the
there were
some of the lights.
Man.
Some of the actual lights are actually on. So, but not all of them. So some of them are there. They're going to have to be replaced, obviously, because the storm did its damage, just like the lights in Bayside Park. But my understanding is some of them do work. So I'm going to go check that out tonight to see which ones are working. We are putting up solar lights so that those lights, it will no longer be dark down Old San Carlos Boulevard. But some of those lights on Old San Carlos Boulevard are fed from Bayside Park, and some are fed from Times Square. So if next time you're walking into Times Square, if you're coming off Old San Carlos towards the pier, look at the box to your right, that big massive pile of electricity that's the type of stuff that needs to be fixed. They fixed a big box last night. That's why the power was out for a few hours. So FPL is working as fast as they can to replace some of this. They assuming having the same issues that many of us are with getting product to build back your house. So little by little, we're getting some light, but staff is putting up some solar lights in places that don't have the actual lights that work.
That's a good question. Yesterday, at the town council meeting, there was quite a number of residents that are starting to get concerned about what might happen in the canal behind the Beach Theater. We know that those folks that bought that building got nailed for taking mangroves out illegally, and they're going to have to replace those. But the residents seem to think there's going to be some bigger boat traffic coming down that canal, and they wanted to get on your radar a little early about seeing what's going on down there. And I know even Jim Murley, I think he might even live over there, or at least it was another Jim that said he wanted to get together to chat about it. But what is the concern that you heard yesterday, and what can you tell us about that?
Well, we heard the residents loud and clear. They don't want commercial intrusion on their canals, because some of those canals and the canals that they're talking about are very narrow, and I can tell everyone, no one has said anything to me that their intention is to do anything yet. We haven't heard anything from London Bay or from whoever owns the Beach Theater. I have not heard from them, so I don't know what their intentions are. So I don't know how or what rumor got out there about that they're planning on using it. But
Dan, hold on a second. I do remember seeing, I don't know where I got it, but I saw a proposal for the Beach Theater. I don't think that's London Bay. That had boat slips back there. It had boat slips back there.
Then I must have missed that one. But I personally, I can't speak for the rest of the council, but we heard them very loud and clear. And
I guess
the
question is, let's just for argument's sake say that this company that owns the Beach Theater wants to turn it into a restaurant, or just hypothetically, and they want to put in some boat slips to get customers there. Who is in charge of canals on Fort Myers Beach? Like, who says yes or no to that? Is it the town, or is it somebody else?
Yeah, the town, I think it's 1,000 feet, owns, some canals on the island are privately owned, but the rest, it falls in the town's jurisdiction. So if you have a boat sticking out too far, the town comes out and gives you, a violation for it. But, I really enjoy when people come out and they do what they did yesterday. They see a potential problem coming. They raise their concerns with it, because what that does is it allows people like me, and I did this already. I reached out to London Bay during one of the breaks yesterday and asked if I could have a phone call with them, because I plan on sharing with them exactly what we heard yesterday. This is what our residents are saying. They are not happy about the potential that this could happen. I certainly can't stop anyone from coming in and asking for something, but I want them to know ahead of time before they start going down whatever road they're going to go down, that these are the objections that we're hearing. And in every conversation I've had with London Bay so far, they've been very receptive and open to anything. So I want to stay proactive on it and let them know that, this is what we heard from our residents. This is what we're hearing. We're getting emails about it. We're getting people coming in, making public comment. They're taking their time out to come and sit at a very long meeting and express their concerns. And at the end of the day, that's who we work for. But I feel that I owe it to everybody to let them know that this is the objections that you're going to be facing should you move forward.
Just for a little bit of clarification you guys probably know more than I do out there, is that London Bay owns Charlie's, and the Beach Theater is owned by a different company. I just don't remember who it is right now. They bought that building. I think they bought the building back before the storm, and they were going to consider keeping a theater there, making it a restaurant. But then the whole Mangroves thing threw a monkey wrench into it, and the storm did too. But I don't think, I don't remember London Bay having something specific. Even Holly remembers there were drawings that they showed. I remember posting the drawings for the boat slips. And then I remember even talking to somebody saying, how the hell are they going to fit boats in this? It's not a big spot back there. And it does go through behind people's backyards. So again, you kind of explained, maybe not in detail enough for me, but you got those houses behind the Beach Theater in that canal. So they'll own, the folks that own those pieces of property will own part of that. And if the road in the water is big enough for a boat to get through, the town could say yes.
Well, I guess technically they could, sure.
Okay.
Unless it's a privately owned canal. And again, I would have to go back to verify that what I'm saying, but I know that when you design a dock, that you can only go, I think it's 25% of the width of the canal. So if you take that on both sides of a canal, two people put docks in, it's 50% of the canal is now gone. So, and I know those canals are very, very narrow. I believe it was my favorite name, John McClain, yesterday was saying that he has to back his boat out of his canal because there's no room to turn around. And even our canal out here, our boat's nothing massive. It's a pontoon 23, and it's difficult on a windy day to get turned around in a small canal. So I completely understand their concerns. They raised the concerns when we were talking about doing the mooring field building at the end of Tropical Shores Way. So I was not at all surprised to hear people objecting to it. I didn't know it was going to be at that meeting because I thought maybe I missed something and somebody put something out that I didn't see, and that's why they were there. But I will relay their message to London Bay and let them know that this is what we've heard. Again, I can't stop anyone from coming forward to ask for whatever it is they want to ask. They own the property, but I certainly want to let them know ahead of time.
More to come on that one.
Yep. Exactly.
More to come on that one. That's for sure. So one of the things that I think is about to be settled is the town's fight with Jim Jameson on Fort Myers Beach. The town has been in a fight with Jim Jameson over what somebody said was wetlands property many, many years ago. I don't know if it's saying decades ago is incorrect, but the town basically decided to give him everything he was asking for yesterday. He's allowed to build 40 single family homes on wetland, what property that was, he said incorrectly. Okay. Wrong.
And yeah. Well, this is why we were trying to clarify it as best we can. So,
okay.
Just a quick synopsis is he bought the property, then he bought his partner out. The use determination on it was changed a year after they bought it. The town changed it, came forward several times through different iterations of trying to get density that he could use. He was trying to do a bunch of other things. But this whole thing was created because of a code change that was made. And then later things were not allowed for him to have. So it ended up going, all we did yesterday was allow him, we won't stand in his way. He still has to go through the state.
Sure.
And get all of that wetlands changed to be able to build. All we did yesterday was
talking?
Is it Mango?
Behind Chapel by the Sea. So that whole canal back there, you can see is in Mango Street, that Mango and Chapel by the Sea there. That whole area is the 40 platted lots that we were talking about. And all we did yesterday was essentially agree to allow him to move forward to the state to get the state to do so. And we won't stand in his way. We will apply the codes as they were from when he bought the property before the determination was changed after he bought the property. So that's all we did. That doesn't mean that there's going to be 40 houses there. Hudson Gill made it very clear to say that it's not going to, I think Councilor Woodson asked the specific question about building condos or building something. He has 40 single family homes that the town will not stand in the way that he could potentially build on those 40 lots should he get to go through the entire long process, which is a very long, expensive process to go through to get that done. Because you have to do things that are well outside my knowledge as far as mitigating mangroves and mitigating stuff in other areas if you take it out, so that there's so much that goes into that. All we did was say we will not get in your way. So he could get the use to do that. Most likely, in my opinion, what I think is going to happen is he'll go forward. He'll try to get what he wanted from the beginning, those 40 density units, and someone will come in and probably buy him out.
Sure.
But in the meantime, our Florida League of Cities attorney made it very clear that he potentially could have a very strong case based on the last ruling that came down on the overturning of the ruling that brought it back down. And this was an opportunity for the town to, at worst, we would have 40 new homes back on those 40 platted lots that have been there for decades. At best, nothing will happen, or that density could potentially, doesn't mean that it can, but it could potentially, someone could buy that out, take that density and try to transfer it to another part of the island, which is what he tried to do several years ago and was rejected from the council at the time. So based on the fact that he tried to do that before, maybe that's what he's going to do. Maybe he won't. I don't know. But we essentially we made the decision to allow him to try to go through the state process to build what he wants to build or transfer the densities if that's what his.
And when you talk to them,
but we saved ourselves potentially $8 million or $8.5 million.
Well, that's
when you talk to the League of Cities attorney or whoever you talk to about this, do you ask them, hey, why the hell did you do this to this guy? I mean, you changed the code after he bought the property, and then you put him through years and years and years of lawsuits to come back and say you can basically do what you asked to do before we changed the code. I mean,
well, there's two sides to it. So I've been involved in the mediation on this case for several years now, and we had a mediation back in the day. It's all public record. This is nothing that anybody can't go look up themselves, and it was 8 or 9 hours. And we actually did make the offer to give him the density units that he could transfer somewhere else. So we tried to offer him through mediation exactly what he asked for back when you were saying. So we gave him exactly what he asked for, but he had his mindset that he wanted to build 40 houses on that lot and he wouldn't accept anything less. So we came to an impasse and we had to move on to the next thing. And
wait, you confused me. That property, from what the attorney said yesterday, was always plotted for 40 single family homes. Right?
It was, but because it was wetlands and because I think it was the state came back, and I don't remember the percentages, but Hudson said the percentages, and it's in the packet. You can look it up. There's a certain amount of percentage of the property that they deemed was actually uplands that you could build on. The rest was all wetlands, and you couldn't build.
Yeah, which was like 3 units he could build on that.
It was like 3, and I think our first offer to him was 3. We'll let you build 3 houses on the 3 properties that they deemed were upland. Didn't want that. Then we went back and said I think it was 10. We didn't want that. Then we offered, I think it was, we'll give you the 40 density units that you have, and you can do with them what you want. You can transfer them. You can sell the property. You can, you can take the 40 and transfer, or sell it to someone, a developer, who then would have to try to move it somewhere else. Didn't want that. So there's 2 sides to it. It went.
Wait. It sounds like you're missing a step, though. Yesterday, you gave him the 40 plots back.
We gave him the opportunity to build. We won't stand in the way. If the state deems that he can mitigate all this mangroves and he can do all these things, if the state said, we just said we will not get in your way.
Right.
And that's why I said worst case scenario, the town could
you're
be
confused.
looking
No,
at
I'm not
40
confused, but
single-family homes.
When you say there's two sides to every story, he kept fighting and fighting and fighting, and he kept winning. And then you finally gave the town finally gave him what he had at the
Well, what I
beginning.
say
Or am I
there's-
misreading?
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is we offered him exactly what he was trying to get decades ago. He asked to get the density units. We offered that to him. He
Yeah.
turned it down. So that's why I say there's two sides. So this fight that has continued is not just because the town was being bullish. It was because you couldn't
Well,
come to an agreement on both sides.
I'm not saying this town. I'm saying for somebody to flip the code on somebody after they buy the property is really bushel.
Well, I can't. Yeah, I can't speak to how that went down.
Come on.
That was.
I'm surprised it went this long before some court didn't say you can't do that. A property owner buys. I mean, unless I don't know what I'm talking
Well, it went
about.
up, and we all know how the court systems work. We, as he said, we won the first case. It went up. It got appealed. It got sent
Yeah.
back down. We won the case again. It went up. They sent it back down with harsher language. So this is getting the town out of a lawsuit for no cost to the town. There were no additional costs to the town. Florida League of Cities covered this litigation. So as a council, we voted and felt that it was in the best interest of the town to, and again, I looked at it as worst case scenario. You could have 40 single family homes on those lots that there currently is nothing but mangroves on. That's, to me, that's the way I looked at it as worst case scenario.
Yeah, and obviously the mangroves, that you can't just build houses on top of mangroves. It take a lot of.
So he's got a lot of work.
Yeah.
And Hudson Gill, I think,
And a lot
made
of
very good
approval.
point. He's saying there's a lot of work. I mean, he's still got a lot of expense and work to go through to be able to do that. So we just said we will stand out of, we will get out of your way and allow you to go through, but you still have to, even if he gets and that's another point on that, even if he goes through and he gets the ability to build for you, he still has to follow the land development code. He still has setbacks, still got heights, he still got all that other stuff that he has to go through to be able to build them. So if his lot's too small, I mean, there's all those things that he still has to go through. We are just saying, we will get out of your way.
Seems
I just want to ask, when you talk about that he can transfer the density, so the likelihood, because of all those, you would have to jump through the hoops and things you would have to do because of the way the land is where those lots are, he can sell. How do you transfer the debt? So you have to have another piece of property that doesn't have as much density, and then you say, I want to transfer this. Like, how does that work?
Frank Shell did it.
Yeah, so it's kind of just a quick synopsis. Again, I'm not a developer, but my understanding of how it works is, let's say he got those 40 density units, those TDUs they call them. So you're in a density unit. So now somebody wants to transfer. They want to transfer that density unit to somewhere else. A developer could come in and buy those rights from him, and then come to the town and ask to take those 40 units and move them to another spot on the island, so that they could have.
To build on. It would be easier to
Correct.
build on than where they are now,
And then leave the mangroves alone.
and then leave that
And
place.
then usually
created.
what would happen, then that would go to the town and the town would own it, and, so there's a bunch of different scenarios that could happen, but essentially a developer would be buying the rights to those 40 units and could either develop the land and put those 40 units on there, or like I said, try to go through the process of transferring those to another area, which is kind of, just to give you an example, like the Bay Oaks entrance. That property and the Kohler family did a density swap. It was a very minor one, but in order to get things done, they had to swap a little bit of density from one section of the beach to another. But now the town has that entrance into Bay Oaks. So on a much smaller scale, if that makes sense, you took the density that was there and transferred, I don't remember, it was 1 or 2. It was a very minimal number. I transferred it over to the part where they now have their cottages back there that they own, and gave the town the property that we now own for the entrance into Bay Oaks. So it's similar to that. You're just moving pieces around on the 7 mile board.
Sounds like you're getting a lot more solid legal advice these days.
Well, maybe, yeah. I mean, we're definitely getting a quicker response, which I'm very happy with. And if there's one thing I will say about Becky, is she is very, very much poignant about, if she has an opinion, if it's her legal opinion, she will not waver, and she will tell you, this is my legal opinion based on what I know as an attorney. And that's who works. That she works for us, and we have to take our we want to listen to her, I would think. Otherwise, why do we have her here? So yeah, she's you know, she's got a lot on her plate. She's trying to get caught up on a lot of things. So she's doing a good job.
This is way off the topic, but the Matanzas Pass Preserve, the walkway through the mangroves behind the,
Cottage.
yeah. Who owns, that's the county?
I believe so. Yeah. Yeah. You're talking about the path that goes back up by the kayak dock back there.
That'll never be fixed.
Yeah, I loved it back there.
I'm pretty
and it
sure.
was-
I'm pretty sure
they've
that's the
pretty
county.
much done that.
If it's
They-
the county, they probably don't even know it's back there.
relatively brand, it was in great shape. It was
You know, I kn-
really nice back out there.
Yeah, I knew the answer to that. Now I'm drawing a blank.
It's
But
too much on your mind, Dan. Hey, it's
got a lot,
6
yeah.
o'clock, but I don't want to.
Clean it up.
You got a joint meeting coming up on October 10th with the LPA, and it's going to be about the comprehensive plan, the blueprint for the future of the beach. And what do you hope comes out of that meeting on the 10th?
Clear direction. I think Anita said it the best. You know, we need to just, and Anita and I have talked about this. We need to come out of that meeting very clear. This is what we have a tolerance for. This is what we don't have a tolerance for, so that we're giving direction to not only our residents, but developers that want to invest in the island. That this is what you can expect if you're going to come forward. We're not going to change this, or we might change that. And however it turns out, whatever the majority is, and that's why I wanted to push to hear from the residents at that meeting, because at the end of the day, they're the ones just like us that are going to have to live with whatever decision is made, and their opinion matters. So we need to hear from them, and we'll talk about it. We'll discuss it. We'll hash it out, and wherever the chips fall is where the chips fall. And that's where we move forward.
So at this point, I mean, I've heard a lot of people talk about what they think about it. What is your impression of what people want? And when you talk about clear direction from who? From people about what they want, or from the two entities to?
Well, I think
Get
the
the
big discussions,
plan done.
you know, the biggest elephants in the room are obviously heights, density, things like that. Those are the things that are the big elephants in the room that people are asking about. Do you want to allow more density, or do you not? Do you want to allow more height, or you don't? If you do, what's the capacity you want to go to? I think everybody has spoken about the floor area ratio, and that number doesn't seem to me like that's going to change, because we kind of, how it's calculated is probably going to change a little bit, but the actual number itself, I think, was very clear, at least from the joint meeting we had last time, that there wasn't a will of the majority of people to want to change that. So how do you move within that? So now that's one piece that's settled. Now you have to deal with heights. Are people okay with seeing a fourth story? If they, or are they not? I think it's been very clear that people don't want to see 8, 9, 10-story type buildings. But do they make sense in specific parts of the island? South, down by Santini Plaza, we'll just use the Wyndham. Does it make sense to allow more height there? So those are the things I think that we need to be very clear about. What sections of the island make sense to allow a little bit more, or do we not want to allow any at all? Or do we want to allow free reign? I'm just using those as examples, but those are the things that we need to hammer out. And I think when we leave that meeting, we need to have a very clear understanding, so that we're not getting questions about, well, what do you think? Can I do this? People know if they're going to buy a piece of property, what they're going to be allowed to do within the rules of the Comp Plan and Land Development Code. So at least that's my hope that comes out of that. And again, we'll see where the chips will fall where they may. If the majority of the people think they want this and not this, then that you respect the process.
So
and you move
majority
on.
of the people, like the townspeople, or the majority of the people on the two
Well, the council makes
groups
the
that?
final call.
Well, at the end
after
of
meeting
the
with
day, yeah,
LPA.
the LPA makes the recommendations, and the council members make the decision. And whatever that recommendation and that decision comes out, we have to respect the process and live with it and move on. So that's what I think we need to get out of that meeting. And I think Anita agrees with me. I certainly don't want to speak for her, but we'll try to sit down and as she said, we should have a very well laid out agenda, so that we can stay on track and get the answers to staff that they have been looking for specifically. I have no doubt that some things will probably go off the rail and we'll get off on tangents, but I think the main big things that we need to focus on are the things that people are talking about: the height, density, things like that are the things. Yeah.
Last question on this, and we'll let you go. So, unless you have another one. So, based on months of your discussions with residents and talking to people and hearing from people and reading what people write, even though some of them might not be residents, and based on what you hear in meetings and council meetings and LPA meetings, and finally, based on those eye-popping numbers that you see people purchasing commercial property for, do you think that some people might sit back and say, uh-oh, I might have paid a little too much for that. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it work.
I don't think so, Ed. I mean, we'll just use a red coconut. I don't think Seagate's buying a $52 million property without knowing pretty well what they can build. You don't get to the point of being able to spend $52 million on a piece of property with not understanding how to read a comp plan and a land development code and understand what you're allowed to build there by right. Now, I've no idea what their intentions are to build there. I don't know if they're going to build what they can by right and not have to ask for anything, just put in a land development order and go, or if they're going to try to ask for some. I have no idea. No one has communicated with me anything yet, so I can't speak to that. But I don't think you spend $52 million and not know exactly what you can do without asking for anything from the town council or the land or LPA. So are there people that might take a chance? Sure. I suppose, there are people that didn't know.
But I think you picked an easy one there. I think you picked an easy one with the red coconut. The outrigger might not be as easy, right?
Well, they can still apply for, no matter what you do with the land development code and the comp plan going forward, will there still be the opportunity for a group to ask for either an amendment or a CPD?
Oh, sure. I mean, that process is not going to change. You're still going to be able to do that. But where is that benchmark going to be? Where is that going to be by right? And I think that's what we're talking about, and that's what we need to talk about. Whereas there's always going to be that, you can go up to this. This is the maximum that you're allowed, but this is what you're allowed.
But you can always ask for more.
You can always ask for more, right? I mean,
will there be a limit on how much you can ask for, or is it just going to be the sky?
Sure. Well, that's what the comp plan does. That you're talking about, like floor area ratio and stuff like that. That is the.
No, I'm saying on height.
That's all right now. That's all. That's through land development. That's what we're going to discuss. Is right now it's 30 or 35 feet. Are you above base flood elevation? Are you okay with going to? Again, we're talking about commercial stuff. So, are you okay with going to 45 or 50 feet, or are you not? Those are the questions that we need answered. I don't know that we're going to see a massive change in anything. From everyone that I've talked to, people understand the buildings are going to be a little bit higher. They understand that they're going to look a little bit different, but that doesn't mean that they want to see double or triple of what they're allowed to do. Is there going to be a willingness to maybe say, okay, you can do 3 stories, but you want an open 4th floor to have a restaurant or something upstairs? Are people okay with that type of scenario? Maybe, maybe not. We'll find out. But I haven't talked to anyone that has said, hey, you know what? I really think they should build a 12-story building there.
No.
I've never heard it. But people are saying, well, I understand that it's going to have to be 10, 15 feet in the air or 19 feet in the air, or whatever the elevation is. And then they're going to have to go up from there. But that doesn't mean that we should just give them double what they could do now. And I think that's the discussion that we're going to have. And again, everyone I've spoken to have been on the side of, they're allowed to build this. Let's not go crazy. And there'll be some tweaks. I have no doubts about it. And we won't probably think of everything in that meeting, and we'll have to adjust some things like the variances that we were talking about earlier and the costs associated with that. And we'll work through those, but we need to give that benchmark of this is what you can expect. So if you are going to go spend $52 million on a piece of property, that this is what the will of the council is, and the will of the LPA and the will of the community that they can tolerate. So at least you have a clear decision or a clear idea. Like right now, people are seeing, as you've said, people are seeing these renderings of things and thinking, oh my God, the town's giving away the farm and it's going to be Miami. And none of that has happened.
I just want to punch my computer.
Up on a piece of paper and show it to people and say, this is what I want. And I want a lot of things, but it doesn't mean that you're going to get it. So we just need to give people clear direction. And hopefully that will come out of that meeting.
Nothing other than, I think, the cottages. You're helping out the cottages. Nothing really has been approved. I mean, it's just been ideas thrown around and meetings that were held and nothing. I don't think anything's even come in front of the LPA yet.
Not that I'm aware of, but people are certainly putting out there what they feel is important to them and what they think is in their best interest, and maybe we'll meet in the middle on some of them, maybe we won't, but hopefully then on the 10th we'll have a better understanding of where everybody sits on these topics, so that we can hopefully not have to talk about them every single week.
All right, man. Unless you got something else, we'll let you go, and we'll see you bright and early Thursday morning at Bayside Park, which looks fabulous, and it's a great place to hold a concert.
Yeah, there's a lot of candy out there too. You don't forget to get that candy to Jeff. Yeah.
We're meeting Jeff tomorrow at 1:30.
People have been crazy.
The whole house is
whole wall.
So great.
It's divided my living room with this high with candy boxes of candy. I mean,
how much has Ed gotten into?
I don't eat candy.
He's not a candy eater. No.
The next is going to be plants. So, all right, Dan, thanks a lot. We'll see you Thursday, man.
All right, guys. Thanks.
All right. Dan Allers, everybody, the mayor of Fort Myers Beach. It's always great to have him on and cover all those topics. Before we wrap it up, want to make sure you know that if you need to sell your property or buy your property, or you just want somebody cool to talk to as a really nice mommy, you can call Jorge Barrera with Premier Plus Realty. If you're not sure how much your property is worth or when is the right time to buy or sell, just call Jorge now. He'll go out and have a cup of coffee with you, maybe even an espresso. Tell you all about his successes. 791-9893. 791-9893. And you'll see him at 820 Buttonwood if you go down there and volunteer your time. He's that kind of guy. So Thursday is going to be busy. Tomorrow, I'll be down at the beach, passing off the candy to Jeff at Bay Oaks, and also covering the peer presentation from the Let's Go FMB group. And then Thursday you're the person up on stage Thursday, not me. Yeah. I'm going to be making sure that the show goes off without a hitch, which is a challenge in itself. And your job is to just give the gift to the families. Tell everybody about the gift and then give the gift to the families. We're donating it to the towns. Adderholt said he's going to put it in the closet. So, we're going to get a nice picture with the lieutenant governor and Kevin Guthrie and all the muckety mucks.
Speech. Saying anything.
You have to say like 30 seconds worth of thank you to the folks that helped me out. Or you want me to write your speech for you?
No, thank you.
So that's Thursday at 9:00. And then we're doing a show at Wahoo Willie's from whenever after that is. Oh, sorry, Jim. I was just kidding. He didn't say that at all. I said, you guys could do what you want with it. You can stick it in the closet or you can put it up somewhere nice. No, it's very nice. I haven't seen it yet, but I heard it was very nice. And then at Wahoo Willie's, we're going to be talking to survivors of the storm that stayed on Fort Myers Beach a year ago and are, trying to get through all the emotions of 1 year and how they're dealing with the situation now after losing most of their belongings. And that's going to be a tearjerker for sure. Starting at, I believe, shortly after 10 o'clock. But at some point, we're going to have Kim cut in from Times Square because they're going to be unveiling the clock, and we don't want you guys that are out of town to miss that. So there's a lot of stuff going on. And then on Saturday, back at Wahoo Willie's, will be David Cesario from Margaritaville, and we'll get an update on how the resort is coming along. So lots of stuff going on this week. Thank you all for becoming monthly members. Thank you all for reading the newsletter. A lot of comments today on the website. A lot of wackadoodle really? Comments that I just left up there. Yeah, some of them were crazy off the wall, bizarro.
I just too want to, besides thanking everybody for sending the candy, I saw, and there may be more, but I saw someone sent bags of goldfish, which nice. Was really nice because not every kiddo, some kids have allergies, some kids are allergic to certain dyes and candy and whatever. So it was really nice to have an option, whether it's a food option or a little bubbles or something. So I just appreciate all of the candy, but also thinking outside the box.
Yes. And that Amazon wish list will be up until Friday at 5. And after that, we'll take it down because I'm sure we'll have plenty of candy and we'll deliver it to Jeff at Bay Oaks, and the Fright Night at Bay Oaks is October the 20th. So there's plenty of time for them to donate the candy. If some of it comes in a little bit after, we'll make sure that we get it on over to them.
Donates bracelets or bubbles.
You know, we forgot to say one other thing. Thank you to the volunteers for coming out and painting the wavy wall. It was crazy to see those people there at 7:00 in the morning. It was so funny because when I first got there, it was like me and 25 ladies. Like there were 0 dudes. It's always that way with the race, and it's always that way with the volunteers. The guys are so freaking lazy, and until
There were
8
a couple
o'clock
of guys
rolled
that
around, they look like the hair was all verklempt. They look like they were hungover, and I'm just kidding. We had 2 or 3 guys down there and helping out, but you need the women's touch for that. That's for sure. They know how to paint inside the lines.
Tony did a great job too.
Tony Bone painting for volunteering and all that.
Helping out with that.
Everybody just wants to help. So the next,
I just want to say that I talked to you about this the other night about volunteerism is alive and well down on that beach. It is just so heartwarming to see time after time after time how you guys show up, residents, non-residents, visitors show up and get stuff done down there, and how much and
it's not even season yet. It's not even season yet. There are people helping out from North Fort Myers, from Cape Coral, from Lehigh. They all came down to paint the wall on Saturday, and I do have the receipts from the paint. It was about $1,900 total with all the supplies and all the paint that was needed. Whatever's left over, we're donating to the town tomorrow, and the money that's left is going to be like $300 or so. We are either going to write a check to FMB Strong, if that's okay with you guys, or we'll save that, because we met with the Garden Club, and the Garden Club went out and measured the behind the wall from the sidewalk to almost where the walkway is, because that area back there is huge. And they met on Monday, and they're going to try and put together a plan for the town where there's native plants that are planted in that spot. And if they get all that approved, we're going to try and get all the money donated to purchase all the plants so that they can redo that. Yeah. It's so much easier to have people donate $30 at a time, and it's done in 2 hours. Yeah, you write a grant. Go right ahead. Yeah. So I love how you come up with these ideas. Yeah. Who's going to write the grant? How long does it take?
Somebody out there.
A plant grant.
Plant grant.
I would just prefer to raise the money that way. So yeah, there's Kathy Turner. She's been watching. Yep.
The money, but I'm just saying, if you can't, because that area, it's big, but you need a fence up to protect it. So
that's what I said. Well, the county used to have, it was like one of those horse fences where you tie your horse to. I mean, it wasn't a big fence. It was like one of those log fences. Yeah. And
like an electrical fence.
No. Well, that would be, walk in the plants and get yourself little electrocution. No. So, and Kathy, I just want you at the Garden Club to know that even though there might only be $300 left from the paint, whatever the total is that you guys need, we're going to raise to beautify that if the town's on board and everybody's on board. So just don't worry about that. We'll get that money for whatever you guys decide that you want to plant there, and it's going to really look nice down there. So thank you to everybody. Thank you for tuning in. We shall see you Thursday morning live from Bayside Park. Bye-bye.